Okay. Make sure this gets sent correctly. Tube is live. Twitch is live. There we go. Right. Today I'm going to be just messing around with Unity for the purpose of getting it into Mona. Last night I found out that I won a competition with the Filecoin Forum bounty. So I'd just like to put it on public record to thank the Mona team and Filecoin and the Filecoin Forum bounty competition. Super thankful and hoping to see where we can go with this metaverse with everyone in the Discord, and looking forward to seeing what we can create. Let's jump in, shall we? So today we're going to just make a simple scene in Unity for the sake of creating some light maps and animation, basically. And I shouldn't have done that because we need to unzip this. Hey, how's it going? Jumped on pretty quick. Are you just like tracking the metaverse or the internet and just seeing if anyone comes up? Tutorial, light maps, and animation. Animation. There we go. Cool. Let's get our Unity going. Hey man, what's up? So good news. I won the art competition I was working on. Super happy about that. Well, there you go. Yay. So yeah, I found out 5 o'clock this morning. So I was in the Discord celebrating, and then 8:30, my new Razer monitor arrived. So I just put that together. So this is my first stream with like 3 monitors around me, which is kind of a lot, but it's great. I'm happy with my 4 screens again. Ooh. Oh no, it's the wrong screen. Okay, I'll fix that. Which one is that? Primary monitor. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, but they can turn, and my neck can move as well. It's pretty cool. Don't know if you've heard of it, but highly recommend it. So I have 3 monitors and the TV. So I actually have 4 screens, and so I've maxed out my graphics card. I guess I'll just have to buy a 3090. I guess with the prize money. Although I can't justify 2,000 for something that probably isn't that well. I'm sure it's faster, but I don't really use it. I think for the stuff I'm using, I need more like RAM, and 64 is enough. I do want the new Razer fans though, so I've got my eye on those, but I have to wait until I can get them easily in Japan, I think, or order them from America. Do you want some fans? I have 6 computer fans that might be for sale. Alrighty. Why does this change every single time? So annoying. Can I save that? That would be super useful. All right, we're gonna need animation. You down there, and animator. Put you down there. Get rid of the asset store. And good to go. Now, let's base scenes. Remove scene. There we go. Unpack that. These three I'm going to unpack as well. Next three I'm going to. Good to go. Spawn point I'm going to keep. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, hang on. That Empire 42. Yeah, cool. All right, what are we doing? We want to turn that down 5. Light maps. I need some light maps. Rendering, lighting. Yeah, no, that's fine. Now, what I want to do. Okay, so let's start with light maps, shall we? Light maps, light maps, light maps. So we need something to bake. Yeah. So many planes. Why did they do it that way? It's so weird. Bye. Find Ron Mente. We need. What do we need? Plane. So let's just make that super big. 5. Cool. 50.1. Maybe 2. Maybe 2. 50. Cool. So much better. Just a moment. Checking the messages. Now, is that, where is that? Low enough. It's orthographic, that one. Yeah. Oh no, okay. Thing? So we need something to create some shadows and stuff. So let's go 5 meters. Nope, let's go 10 meters. 1. Nope, that's let's go 3 meters. Sure. And 1. Roll snaps, but it might not snap the way you want because that's like 3. But some overlap would probably be quite nice, actually. Block collider is there, so let's do that. Let's grab those, duplicate those, rotate, rotate. Now with light maps, sometimes you have to be kind of careful with bleeding. Light mapping in Unity is not so great at that. So keep that in mind when creating a space, I guess. 8. Yeah. And once again, of course, if you've got V held, you can snap that in, which is excellent. There we go. Now we need a door, I suppose. Sometimes I use this one. It's actually quite useful. So let's put a door right in the middle. Good. Yep. That's a 2 meter door, so the avatar should work in there. The avatar, where is he? An artifact? No. Base? No. Resets? No. Scenes? No. Where is he? There we go. Sample assets, that'll do it. It's a little close, I think. So it's yeah, cool. And then we need some cool ceilings. Ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Things great. Press F to zoom in if you need to do that for any reason. It's not exactly accurate. That's better. Middle mouse button to move around. Zoom in there. Hold V. Snap there. Good. Yeah. Duplicate. 3. No. One sort of small ones. Yeah, that's fine. Now, shall I leave the box colliders on there? Sure. Why not? All right. Next up, we need. Actually, I'm going to put a. Let's do that. Structure. In those ones. Ceiling. Naming is useful. Get into the habit. 3. Cool. 1. Structure. It's good. Just do these walls. Wall. Wall. Matt, have you watched Arcane yet? If not, I highly recommend it. It's amazing. And Oh, so 6, I guess. Yeah, cool, 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 cool. All right. Now let's put some things to make light mapping actually interesting, I guess. So that's structure. Let's make a new one and use stuff. So we need a sphere. Mm, nope, bad. Where'd you go? I want it near the wall because that's a cool effect. And then let's, I don't know, put it in the corner and do sort of a bunch of different effects, I think. So duplicate that. And we need some materials. So let's create a folder. Oh, what do we need? Let's create one material. Go to emissive one. Now we actually want emissive. Now, oddly enough, the color for emissive comes from here, for example. So if I put it on an object there, but say, for example, if I do that, that makes it even redder, for example. So putting the two together is interesting, but say, for example, you can get some really nice effects if you add so like an orange and then a red emissive, or let's try red with an orange emissive. I think that was better. Do that. Yeah. Now I want to make that brighter. So not right. So 0 is no emissive, I guess. So I'm kind of interested to see what that happens. But then 2 and then 3. Let's do some experiments, shall we? So this emissive will be 0. Duplicate. Actually, I'm going to try that again. Delete. Let's just call this 1. Let's see what happens. Yeah, okay. So that's going to be 0 emissive. This one's going to be 1. And this one's going to be 2. Actually, I wonder what happens if I do -1. Let's do that. Kind of interested. -1. That's even a thing. So let's have a look. This can be -1. Cool if it sucks light. That'd be a lot of fun. That one I think is 0, which it is good. And this one is 1. 1. And let's go 2. Hardcore. 2. 1, 2. Just gonna make sure that's a 1. 1.4 for some reason. 1. Okay. Hang on. -1. -1. Right. 0, 0, good. 1, 1, good. 2, 2.4, 2. You have swatches down here, which is actually really useful if you're doing sort of like a style guide. So be sure to use that. I use that a fair bit when I was doing light in my monospace, for example. All right, now all of this, by the way, has to be static. So to light map, you have to set to static, change all children. So the floor, the structure, and everything in the structure and all the stuff will be static. Up here, static here. If something is missed for some reason, you can just click it there. I find that sometimes if you have an object, you can just like turn it off and then turn it on and it will do all children again. So pretty important. Let's jump into, let's do a quick render. So for lighting, this is the light mapper in Unity. So basically, it has that, which is fine. These are way too high. So I usually knock these down to pretty small numbers to start and then ramp them up later. This definitely doesn't, this is the biggest thing. Light map resolution is the thing that makes the size of the light map. So if your files are really big, you need to knock that back. Even on my final space, I think I was looking at 20. So I find that lock it to the number of light maps you want, and then make sure you fill that light map up as much as you can. So for example, I think I was using, what was it? I think 20.3 was my light map resolution to like fill in those 3 textures as much as possible. And as soon as it went over to, I think the 4th map, I would dial it down. So it was like a lot of baking and messing about there. Sometimes I might bump that up if there's some bleeding issues and things. But once again, light mapping in Unity can be a bit messy. Max light map size, I usually bump that up to 2048, depending on how complex the scene is, and depends on the needs of what you're doing. So if it's a small scene, you could do it less. Compressed light maps usually good for size. Ambient occlusion, definitely. And we also need this to be non-directional. I think that's a WebGL thing, so make sure to do non-directional. Albedo, boost and indirect intensity you can mess about with. And sometimes I will bump this up for a final render and see if the file size changes at all. But that will add a lot of time, so feel free to tweak that. Progressive GPU is faster. Progressive CPU is better. So once again, I'll use progressive GPU to burn through sort of things, and then CPU for a final. So what else is there? That's about it for those. The other very, very important thing is, say, for example, let's look at the models. Where can I find the models? Where are you? Where are the objects? Where are they putting them? Maybe in here. Mesh. And dang it. No, I need to find. Okay, let's do this. That's what we need. Just avatar. avatar, that one, that one. So if you import a model, and this is a model here, for example, so this is a prefab you can sell by the blue box, but we actually need the model, the original model. You'll have access to put up materials here, if they're connected from Blender or whatnot, animation if it comes in, rig if it comes in, but this is the one we need now. So for this, we need generate lightmap UVs. Very, very important. What this will do is Unity will pull apart your objects and create the light maps for you. They aren't the best, so you could try and create your light maps as a second UV in Blender or whatever 3D program you have. But this will save that step. Bakery, which I used for my project, was better at this. You could fill holes and have a few more options in regards to that sort of stuff. I don't think you get to choose much in regards to this. So let's let's do this. Let's pull apart our little avatar and make him static and put him in the space because that'd be fun. F. There. Now, note another note is, say for example, this is a real-time light. This will not go into the light map information. If I wanted to bake this, I could do baked or mixed. But if you want to do just baked, you can do that. And then all of the light from this will be put into the scene and bounce off everything else, for example. So that light will come down and bounce off and things like that. So let's, for the sake of this argument, leave that there. So that's it, I think. Let's do some other interesting things. Let's where are the materials? Oh, we can get rid of that. Go to materials. Let's do a different color. So duplicate one, say. Let's do three. Change the color to sort of a cool bluish vibe. Put that at 3 because why not? Put that as a wall just to see. All right. Now, theory is this will now work. That's where they went. So I click that. So I'm going to do, well, let's do a comparison. Let's do a progressive GPU and see the time, and then let's do a CPU and with the time. Let's see how that goes. If I talk, it might lag out a bit because this is pretty heavy sometimes. I think the first time takes a bit longer, so there's that as well. So yeah, I think that's about it for light maps with Unity Lightmapper. And yeah, once again, I started playing with Bakery soon after that, so the difference in reaction or results was quite good. Oh, that's done. So as you can see, that the results are pretty. What would you call it? Let's go to him. Pretty blotchy. It's kind of interesting colors. So I think that's the blue and the pink going together. That's kind of fun. And then you got your different levels there. So that is, it does take away light. That's fun. Okay. So let's try again with progressive CPU. Okay, wasn't so slow. But the thing is, these scenes are very simple. So there's not really much going on in these scenes at all. Um, so that's cool. I'd like to know why they're pink though, and I think that's because of that. So I'm actually going to get rid of that one. Make that white again. Actually, I kind of want to see what happens there. Suck the life out of it. And why isn't he? Yeah, he's static. And the other thing to check out is baked light maps. So, for example, you have this. So, for example, you can see those are the ground. For example, these are all the cubes that we're looking at. A lot of space up here, but you can see large gaps. If you have very irregular shapes, the space gets pretty messy. So, as an exercise, let's see. Let's bump this up a little bit. So let's say 35 and see how much more that takes. Yeah. Is that pink? A bit a little odd, I think, because that's orange. Sure. Um, Now, if you need to, you can clear bake data, so you know you're starting from scratch. So that was just down here, generate lighting, bake reflection probes, cleared bake data. So we've got that. And then we can start again. So that got rid of the blue. And there we have it. That light is interesting. The fact that it actually takes away things. That's good to know. It's gonna be quite interesting to use maybe. Um, so yeah, there we go. Very red sort of space. You can see sort of the levels there. This guy is still not getting lit, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Could have to do with the model. I didn't apply it. Oh, maybe I didn't apply it. Hang on. Hmm, not too sure about that one. But yeah, usually I'll have to do that. Usually, if you bring in your own model, um, static. Setting the light maps will do that. But if you see in the like, it's not here. I don't think so. If you look at the objects, there is no avatar. So sometimes if you're wondering why something is not working, you could actually look in the light map and see if your object is actually in there or not. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Um, so if you ramp these up, so let's double everything. Yep. Generate lighting. So notice the what do you call it? The bleeding or the leak of the light. Once again, Unity light mapping isn't so great with this sort of thing, like large objects. So the floor is one big object, so it's not going to be able to do that very well. But if I broke up the floor like the original file was, then that would look better, for example, because it would be able to track that slightly better. So there's that. So that's not too bad. And let's dumble up again. So this is getting to the original sort of levels there. Yeah, I think we got some space there. Let's see if we can fit that a little bit more in. Let's see what happens. Let's go big. Go big or go home. Let's clear it just to make sure. And then generate lighting. So as you can see, that's already getting much neater. It's not even finished yet, so the blotchiness isn't there anymore, or as much, anyway. But it does take a bit longer. I'd like to do one more, but this time we're going to change the light map parameters to high quality and see how that goes, just for fun. Now note there's only one light in this scene. It's just the direct light that I turned into a baked light, so the directional light at the top. That said, if the character walked under those skylights, there would be no shadows. So light maps do not create shadows. Yeah, so look, if you look at that, much better. So simple scene, looks quite nice. And yeah, let's crank it. If you go to bake light maps, now we have two. So these are much bigger, as you can see. I don't know what those are. What are those? And this one here, for example. Now, over here, we have a lot of space. So we could actually say, for example, what I would do or was doing was because we have so much space, I might pump that up to, let's say, 90 to try and fill that second map. So that's in high resolution. You know what? Generate lighting. This might take a while, so we'll see. Very red. So you can get pretty good results from light mapping with the Unity mapper if you're not doing anything too crazy. If you added lights and all these sorts of scenes, that would make a big difference. I'm just using some emissives. But say, for example, you could create an object that is a lamp and put an emissive light on the front of that and just ramp the emissive really high. And then you would get this sort of like glow effect that would actually be maybe not accurate to real light, but it would be pretty cool to sort of have that effect being relatively connected rather than trying to mess around with lights and stuff. So that's another approach to lighting. Bakery actually uses that technique for like area lights. So you'll put in a bakery light and it just puts in a plane with a material that is emissive, and then you connect those and that's your area light. So a lot of my light was can't understand that, by the way. A lot of the light that I just wanted to create sort of atmosphere was like a big red light that was like taking up the whole right side of it, so gray glowed orange on the reactor side, and then blue on the other side to sort of balance that out to sort of get that contrast between the two spaces. So that was a lot of fun. My guess is that means grab the Mario Kart in the sky really big. um, yes, I am a man, and he can do international Forza racing. I'm great at this game. Next. Doesn't Twitch have auto translate? Okay. So as you can see, all of the settings are like crazy high, and it's really quite nice. Except for of course the leak. But that's because the floor is huge, right? So all of that's actually on there as well. Be careful with these sorts of things, like it's too close. So you could probably make that a bit smaller. But if you look at the light maps, it didn't really do much. I think it added a little bit, so I'd have to go a bit bigger for that. So yeah, that's light maps. So let's get let's do, and yeah, once again, these sort of things. So of course, if you could make this wall in Blender so it doesn't have these boxes and you don't get that sort of bleed. And yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So if you look at the baked maps, when you look at the floor, for example, so you've got that whole space, and that's where you get the leak, for example. So don't do that. Maybe that's why Mona have created like a bunch of smaller maps on the floor, so that doesn't happen. Okay, let's add. Reflective probes. Create empty reflective probes. Now this one's pretty easy, so we actually go into light, reflection probe, go up the top. Now, there. I want to put the center sort of here. Now, depending on your environment, you sort of want to keep these in zones. Now, this is just one room, and light probes do take up, like each probe is kind of like a scene in itself, and I'll show those in a sec. I think if I can remember how to do it with the light mapper here. So we'll go to the inspector. We can adjust with these so to sort of fit around the thing. You can make it bigger depending on, you get different effects with those sort of things. I actually haven't played with pushing reflective probes as far as I probably could. I just filled it around the block, and that was kind of enough. So you have your center, which means you can actually move it around. So that's where things project from, I believe. So you want that in the center. And then that. Now this is way too low. I'm going to move this to about there because I want sort of like the head height of the character. And that there. So that's that. Now I can make it here. So let's do that. Yeah. So as you can see, we have, let's make that a bit bigger. Can I make that a bit bigger? Can you biggen, please? There we go. So this is a map that is stored somewhere, and does that sort of effect. So if I ran in this space, I would be able to see some reflection. Now on here, I don't actually have any reflection except for on his face, for example. So let's make some new materials so we can see reflections. Let's do this one. Duplicate. Reflective. Let's change the color. Let's do this to blue. Get some contrast going and turn emissive off. Now we want, so we got smoothness and metallic as different things. So let's grab these four, go up the top, duplicate those, put them over here. Now let's put them there. Put them there. Okay. Yeah. I'm recording and streaming at the same time. So, what? How'd you know that? So, as you can see, reflective. which is super cool. So let's play with some options for these. So let's move that down to 0.5, for example, just so we can see the difference. So as you can see, the reflection is fuzzier. So if I change this, super clean, super fuzzy, super clean, super fuzzy. So that 2.5. Now with these two, let's put some metallic on there. Let's just change that to smooth and change that to smooth 2. And let's duplicate those two and make these metallic. Metallic. Metallic 2. So let's ramp that up to 100%. If you want to change this, go like that doesn't really help with reflections, although you got that, for example. So I find the sphere is, oh, the torus is pretty cool too. But the sphere is pretty good for that sort of thing. You can actually put a reflection probe in there, like so, if you wanted to. And sometimes it works, but not today. So, where were we? So metallic 1 on that one, and metallic 2 on that one. So you get some interesting effects. Metallic and smoothness looks really good. This one looks really odd. But if you add that up, it goes down, down. Let's keep that at 0.5. And then you got metallic, which does that, for example. So yeah. So that's metallic and reflection probes. Let's save, because that's always a great idea. Man, that god guy, he's a worry. Hang on. You saw that in the thing that does the thing, Discord. I figured you out. I know your secrets. Okay. So we have reflected probes and metallic, basically. So let's get some light probes in there. Stuff, reflective probes, environment. I like to put the spawn point at the top there. Just get it out of the way, make sure it's always there. And then we can add another empty to light probes. Add light probe group. Okay. So similar before, grab the object. If you want to sort of stop that, put the objects in the middle, sort of in the separate. I'm going to put it above there so I can grab that if I need to. Then I can edit these. There. Now I want to get these sort of right, because then, like on this direction, so get the height right, because then I can just grab those, select all, control copy, control V, and then you have light probes. Get rid of them. Move them all up a bit. Can I scale this? That would be super useful. Yes, I can. Nope, nope, nope. So be careful with unselecting. Sometimes that is a thing. So I think when you select something else, it'll turn off. So do that, and then do that, and these will be right there, and then you can do it. Do that. Just to keep it nice and clean, I'm going to do that and scale. Once again, go there. Scale. scale that up. I guess that doesn't have to be added there. So yeah, we have light probes. So what this does is basically the light in the baked information will be projected onto the character, I believe. I could be slightly wrong there, but it's kind of the effect you get. I have been told that if you have objects that are sort of too small for light mapping, so like rocks or things like that, sometimes it's better to use a light probe on those rather than um, like having like a lot of light mapping data take up like a couple of pixels on a rock. So unless you want to scale the value of an object up in the light map, which you can do, um, for example, I will. So once again, if you look here, I think, is it here? No, maybe not. Is it here? Yep. Blend probes. So you can turn these off for objects, on. You can turn, once again, same with these. So if you click on an object in the space, you have access to turn these on and off if you want. Now I'm just trying to figure out where the where was it? There. So mesh renderer. Yeah, that's just weird. Maybe that's why it's not getting light mapped. But you need a mesh renderer. So if you have that, you have lighting, for example, light mapping and scale in light map. So if I wanted to, I could actually double the size of this in the light map, which would be good for smaller objects or things that need to be more important and higher quality. So you can do that. So objects with mesh renderer, light mapping, scaling light map, and upsize that if you wanted to. Right. So light probes are in. Let's just close all this again. Now, I don't believe we need to bake this like we did with the light probes. Sorry, the reflection probes. It's just done and ready. So that is good to go. So let's take our wonderful. Where's the spare point? Spawn point's there. So let's move that out to here, for example. Now that's going to be facing the wrong way. So that's an important thing. So turn that 180 degrees. Once again, control to snap. Oops. That's the other thing. Pivot and local. So you can make sure that it's looking the right direction. So say, for example, if you have center and global, that is not correct. So make sure that you have pivot and local facing the direction you want to spawn. And that would be it, for example. So let's build that. Let's load up the playground. Owner.gallery playground. Nope. Playground. There we go. So this will come up automatically. Drag and drop that in. And voila, we have our space without without flickering. I did that on purpose because it looks cool. Honest. So as you can see, the light map. So I haven't done the light maps out here. So basically, it's going to be doing some interesting things. So I would need to, and I'll probably do a test actually just to check this. But if I put light probes out here, because there's no light actually going through the door, but because I haven't like fixed that up, then we've got that element. So I think actually because this happened last time. So when there is no light probes in a space, you'll get this weird highlight effect. Um, you could utilize that for cool things, but once I'm in the space, then we start getting the effect there. So, for example, I'm hoping light doesn't really work. Okay, interesting. And also, the light map doesn't work on his visor either. It's interesting. So I'll have to look at that. But yeah, once again, we have the spaces here. Now, those might not be static, and therefore that's why the light isn't really working. Or I didn't bake them, so there's that as well. I do like that effect, and the minus light is kind of useful as well. That's cool. All right, so we have some issues. So let's go back and have a look. Environment. Let's go there. Rotate that down. Yeah, those are static. Light probes, then probes. Interesting, interesting. Ah, that's interesting. That's probably why. So yeah, it's not there because it wasn't there. I'm going to save that so that stays. Now, this is one thing that I would play with if I had the extra space. And I did this with my... I chose different map sizes to have higher quality resolution. So if I did 2048, so if you look at that, it's a bit messy there. But if I bake it now, hoping it's done, it'll be a lot better. Um, so by the end of my build, because I had like a tiny little bit extra space, I started to build slightly higher resolution builds, for example, for these. So as you can see, the resolution does change quite a bit. I know. Is it that bad though? I didn't realize it would be that bad. Okay. What did you miss? What did you miss? Um, so yeah, basically you want to adjust this to be as good as you can without losing too much information. So, like, say for example, 1024 from 512 doesn't really make much of a difference with this sort of simple scene. But if I went down to 256, it does get a little bit fuzzier. 128. Even that's okay. So you really want to push like this to see what you can get out of it with as little as possible, basically. So now that that's baked in, I have to bake the light probes. Is that? So let's actually on that. So let's copy some of these outside the space. Actually, let's get a couple of them. D. And I'm going to put it next to the wall because that's pretty important. Same again. Now I'm using Control D to copy these. D. Again. And just because people will always run where you don't want them to. So that's that. Okay, so checking that again. So that's good. Collected probes. Let's bake the whole place again. Let's make sure all of these are static by doing that. Then lighting. Let's leave it high. Okay, gonna go quiet so it doesn't do weird things. Can I talk while it's baking? Is that okay? I need some baking music. I want to use if you ever heard the soundtrack to Fight Club, they have a really good like elevator music track. I would love to use that, but copyright issues abound. What else? So yeah, I think the light probes are in. Hoping those work. We'll find out if there's a change with that highlight around the character. I think. The light, like baking, also might create the light probes. I'm not too sure. I might have to look into that a bit actually. Kind of know things, but I also kind of don't. So yeah. Okay. Let's build that. Just in. No, that's still there. Good. Okay, I'm going silent again because I don't want to get all statically and stuff. Automatically. Let's go. Because I can. So notice how the highlight effect is not there anymore, but as soon as I go... Oh. Well, I guess it references the last thing, so the last thing knows that there's a wall there. Ooh, that's interesting. Ah, because I'm on the inside of... So there's probably a ball, like, right behind me, and then the next ball is the red light. So something like that, maybe? Not too sure. There we go. That's what I wanted. So we have some very red. That's awesome. Um, effects. That's pretty cool. And like even here, where you can see like the light, that's a bit interesting. But once again, I think I'm hitting between the light probe on the inside of the wall and the outside, so it doesn't really do that very well. So maybe putting light probes like right up against the wall, that would be good. But then we have these, which is pretty cool. And as you can see, the reflections do work once they bake properly. So that one's a bit fuzzy, so that's kind of interesting. And then you have just smoothness. So that one there is just smooth, no metallic, and 50% smooth. This one is metallic, so you can sort of see the difference between those two. Mechanism really affects like with what do you call it? Rough, not roughness, because Unity uses smoothness. Like annoying people because everyone uses roughness now. So physics-based rendering in Unity will use metallic and smoothness, which is a very slightly annoying thing. So yeah, that is our space, and all done in Unity. So of course, if you started doing some cool things with Blender, that would be a lot better, to be honest. So yeah, the light probe sort of moving the things around. Hang on. Read this. Rough? No, I think it's smoothness. Um, I can try and prove it to you. Try. So yeah, I was trying to play around with this. It's actually really quite annoying. So if you got metallic, if you roll over it, it tells you what they are. So you got metallic R and smoothness A, which is the most annoying thing. And then you got transparency. So alpha, I hate how they do metallic and smoothness on this. Like, why is it alpha? Why didn't they make it like G or B? I guess we can do that. What does that do? No, same. I don't even know what that does. Sure. Smoothness, texture, and channel. Speedo and the alpha. Yeah, not too sure. That'd be interesting. I should play with that, I guess. Um, what else is there? That's lighting. That's light probes, light maps, um, reflection probes. What was the other thing? Oh, animation. How can I do that? So for that, I need some textures. So let's add some textures in. Textures. Let's import some new assets. What textures do I have? Oh, let's use the ones I did for the competition, I guess. Builds, hex, way down the bottom, assets, add your files, textures, trim sheets. Which ones were cool? Normal map and alpha. That'll do. And let's do the water because that was cool. Import. Yep, no, that's sweet. And set. Where was the water? Normal. Cool. All right. So let's make this one. That is metallic 1. Put that on the normal. Ta-da! Oops, fix. There you go. Now, oddly enough, the sphere in Unity, if you do offset, not that way, but that way, it looks like there's water coming out of the top, and it's awesome. So that's basically how I did the effect on the balls in my space, completely by accident, and super happy with it. And then I decided to put water on everything because it looks cool. So let's make that an animation. Let's actually put on this one some of this stuff as well. So occlusion. So that's just like the shadow like on the actual object. We want industrial trim, which is normal. Sure. Fix now, otherwise it won't work. And diffuse. What did I put on that? Let's find out. Just puts like a bit of color in there to make it a little bit more interesting because everything being white just didn't look very good. So that's pretty cool. All right. What I might do, let's see what happens if you do this. It's not as cool as I thought. Let's try this one maybe. Yeah, that'll do. So that's over there. So we have an orb. Now, for example, when it comes to animation, I could put the. This is the best. I do it this way. So, say for example, I click on this. So, if I want an animation just on this, I would go create. I would create a new folder. And then I'm going to call the animation, I don't know, let's just do spin UV. Now, two files will be made, for example. So you have your, what do we got? So that's the animation, and this is the tool for the animator. So if I click on it, which one was it? That one. We have an animator, which gets put in automatically when I clicked create. So that's really useful. It'll have sphere, and that is reference to the name of the object. So sphere 5. Now this is the animator, which will go into this. Now, I don't think there's any animator support in Mona yet. I'm hoping there will be in the future. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we could have, say, for example, transition. That could happen on different conditions. And because this is not really code, I'm hoping that we could put some things in here. So, for example, play idle. And then when that goes true, it'll go to the next animation, or random. So after this one finishes, it goes to the next one, stuff like that. That would be great, but we don't have that feature in just yet. Now, for most of the animation I did in my space, so if you check out the space, you can see a lot of the things I did. Most of it was done with this one button. It was super easy, barely an inconvenience. If you know that reference, send me a like. Purely for the reference, not for the YouTube algorithm. So basically, I would click on that and find the thing I want to animate. So in this case, I want to animate the material. So go down here, that is on, and not this offset because that's secondary maps, this offset. Now I want to go not that way actually. I want to undo that. And I want to go this way. Yeah. Now to make a full loop, so I will move it a little bit. Sorry, I will move it a little bit so it creates a keyframe. I could just press that if I really wanted to, but I should just do that, to be honest. I will go to sort of 1 minute, I guess, and then I'll put 1. And then you'll have this. So, ta-da! Now notice this automatically has ease in and ease out. So if I press play, for example, that will happen. Go to scene, and that's really fast, right? So I don't want that. So once again, this will happen. So you're not selecting on anything. So I will usually go animator and then click on the animation again, and it comes up. Scroll to reduce that, grab that, and move those, or select all and then move. So if you have a bunch of keyframes in here, you can scroll them all and scale. So that was super easy. For more complicated animations, let's see how 10 seconds go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get rid of this because we never use it. That's better. But I want really subtle. So once again, animator, animation. Let's double that. So that's 10, triple that. So if you get, oh, that doesn't work. Okay. So that's kind of cool. I like that. It's very subtle. So that's pretty cool. Now the mapping isn't great with a sphere that's in Unity, so that's fine for now. That's good. But I want it to loop. I don't want it to slow down and speed up. So I'm going to select all of them, right mouse click, and go auto. Now you have, of course, these other options, but for straight through, you have all sorts of options there as well. But for the most part, I have only used auto. So basically, when it does it, too slow. Let's speed that up so you can see it a bit better. Again. So as you can see, there's no slowdown or speed up at the end of the loop. So it just keeps going. Now, in my water situations, this was basically the same thing, but the different offset. So it went Y instead of X. So let's do that as an example. So this object, for example, and this is the other thing with animation. So I clicked on this one, and when I do this, I don't think, yeah. So if it is under this object, I can animate it under that animation and animator. But if it's somewhere else, I cannot. So in many cases, I would create a new object that would have everything in the animator or to be animated, and then put that, how would you say it? And then I can control all of the animation under that. So if I wanted to control all of these spheres, I would actually put an animator on this one. So let's do that. So I'm going to get rid of, no, I don't want to get rid of it. I want to remove that. So when I click on that, there's no animator anymore. And I'm going to put it on this one. Animator. And then because I've already got it, I'm going to rename this to stuff, I guess. Put it there, and then I'm going to drag that. It doesn't have to be the name. It just, that's something you can recognize it as. And then you've got that there. Now these will be wrong because the connections are all off. So this is looking for an game object that is missing. So I will have to do these again. But that's pretty easy. So in this case, I'm going to go to the animator, go to stuff, press record, go here. And then I'm hoping, I think it was this one, wasn't it? So I'm gonna go to the start, and then, okay. So that doesn't work. All right. So if the keyframe doesn't work, just move it and then take it back to 0. Now, if I recall, 10 seconds wasn't enough, so I'm gonna go. Let's go 20 seconds. Make that 1. What we want. Right mouse click those. Put that to auto. And then we're also going to get this one still on record. Look down here, and let's go that. Put it back to 0. And notice how these are coming up when you add something different, for example. If you want to make sure that you get the key point, I recommend using that. There. For example, now if you want to make sure that it's going the right way, like so, zoom out a bit, and let's play that. Now that is way too slow. Kind of interesting though. But so once again, animator, animation, put this on. Now in this case, for example, I don't think, so if I want to speed this up to say 5, and then I just let that go, this is going to stop before this. So when you're trying to do loops and stuff across different objects, you're gonna have to be careful with that. So there, it stops. Whereas the other one is going because that's a longer time. So in this case, for example, I didn't mind the speed. So I can go to 10 seconds, and that will be 2. Oops. Let's undo that. Record, and that can be a 2. So that's going to keep going. And then we have 3. Now note the loop is on every 1, so this should work perfectly fine. Now we want that to match up perfectly, so zap. and 4. And then it will go back to 0, which is kind of what we want. And then we want to make sure those are on auto as well. And then if we press play, fingers crossed, we have a water effect and a spinning orb of death, which is pretty cool. So that's animation of textures, which I did quite a lot of in my space. So I had water running down some glass blocks. I had water running down some glass windows. I had animation with emissive. So I actually had emissive, which was going up and down. It's very subtle. Most people probably don't even notice. I should have made it maybe more obvious, but yeah, that's there. So any of these buttons in here can be animated, for example. So all of these, maybe even metallic. Let's give that a shot. Kind of interested to see that. So records. Yeah. So if it's red, it can change basically. So let's zip there. Let's go down to there. No, let's go down to 0.5 because that's cool. Now, I don't have access to metallic and smoothness because this is a texture. So I'm going to leave that. Zap to there and then put that back up to 1. So then we have sort of this cool changing effect there. What else can we do? What else can we do? Tiling? Sure, why not? Let's do that. Zap to the right one. Let's do a tile. So let's go more. Ooh, that's kind of cool. 2. To 1. That's fun. Yeah. And then, of course, if we wanted to, we could, of course, do actual movement. So once again, recording is on. And let's just move that. So in that case, we have to go up here and grab. So see that and then go down. So this is what we want. Move that up. And then paste that again to go back to exactly where it was. It's a bit annoying, but does the trick. But now because this is there, yeah, no, you have to basically do that. So we could also do 7 and then 8, which is kind of faster as well. So let's go to this one, raise it a bit. Next one again. Now I want to go exactly where the last one was. So this is position. I want this copy, paste. So Control V, Control C to copy, and put it where you want to paste it, and Control V, and then you have this sort of effect here. Now the thing with this, if you have light maps, the light map of course will not animate with it. So don't do, like, if you did something really fuzzy like this would probably be okay. But if you have a hard if you have a hard shadow or anything, then that's clearly not going to work. So you might need to consider real-time lighting for that, but that comes at a cost. So real-time lighting in Mona should be limited to probably 2 real-time lights because of the, I think, what is it? I always get them mixed up. Linear lighting, not deferred. Forward rendering. That's the one. So because they're doing forward rendering, that's one of the cons of forward rendering, if I recall. Feel free to contradict me in the chat. Now let's. Ooh, that could be fun. So notice I can jump between these 2 objects purely because all of the animation is on the stuff thing above it, so the parent. But I could not edit any of the structures or walls or anything like that. As soon as I select that, it'll get off this animation tool. Now, in this case, I want to do something cool. I want to change the color to blood red. I'm going to do that. Let's go dark, like so. We got that. So blood of my enemies. Because that changed. Where's that? So here's color. So that was the original. Then I have that, and then I need this. So once again, grab that. Make sure it's at the end so it loops properly. So Control V, what's selected. Control V, where the playhead is. I don't know. Let's just do some weird stuff. So let's go up. Yeah. So 7, 8. So I want to go up. Actually, I want to do different because that will make it more interesting, for example. So I'm going to put that up, down. Now the position is here, for example. So I need this. Zoom to here. Snap to the right one. Copy V. And then you have that cool sort of effect between the two. Having them all the same would look kind of boring, so we kind of want to do this as well. Now, another thing I want to do, just because we can, is rotation. So that goes around like so. Now notice if I do that, and it goes back. So say, for example, I copy the original, which is rotation, so this one. So paste. Notice that, oh, okay, so it bounces and then rotates the same way. But if I want to rotate it completely, I have to sort of do that myself. So the original would have been there, for example, Control to thing, and then I want to actually go full circle. So as you can see, that's the effect we sort of want to do. So keep that in mind when copying and pasting, all that sort of stuff. Now I want to sort of, well, let's have a look and see how they bounce. When you're playing in this space, sometimes you'll get this double effect, which isn't ideal, but yeah. So the movement isn't working. I think there's a thing that I can edit that. We'll see it, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine in the game. So that's basically animation. If you have a rigged squish, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Okay. Animator. Ooh, let's hit the ground. That would be cool. Okay. So for this one, I want to hit the ground properly. You can see the line there. If I need to, though, I can go wireframe, and then you can't really see it because it's flat. So yeah, I'll just have to eyeball it, I think. So once again, we're going to put that on, and then move it down to there, because we don't want it to squish until we kind of want it to. Then I'm gonna use this. That doesn't work. That's annoying. Does that work? Yeah. Kinda. Actually, no, that doesn't work. Well, that's annoying. Well, let's, for the sake of this purpose, let's just do this. Squish, squish. There. One. Put that to one again, I guess. Fantastic animation skills I have. Now notice how the collider does not animate. I'm not even sure I can actually. So let's see what I can do with that. So center, edit collider. Yeah. So this collider can't actually scale like so. So in doing so, if you had a character in Unity, for example, you would probably just sort of maybe squish it a little bit, um, depending on the situation. But I'm not going to do that for this purpose. So we're just going to do that. Boink. Okay. Save. And so that's that's animation. um, and you can do anything. So if you have that's what I was saying before. I was so rudely given a good idea by the chat. A rigged mesh, for example, you can animate the skeleton in Unity if you wanted to. So for a different tutorial I did for Decentraland, I had a character from the Sinti Polygon characters. It was a blacksmith, and I just did a quick sort of hammering an anvil inside Unity. So if you have assets from the store, you can actually animate them in Unity. It's a little bit more complicated than, say, if you were in Blender with a proper rig and all of that. And then export those animations out separately. I'll probably eventually have to make a tutorial on those sort of animations, but for the moment, we're just looking at basic animation. So, of course, you can use these in all sorts of interesting ways. So, let's test it out. Build playground files. Refresh just in case. I have noticed that sometimes if you go, well, I was doing this with the Mona gallery with a lot of spaces of builds. So I would go into a space and then go back a page and then go into a new space and go back a page and then go back into a new space and then go back a page. The more spaces I went to, the clunkier it was getting. I don't know if that was on my end or whatnot, but basically, yeah, that was the thing. So I make sure to refresh the page or even just start a new one for those sort of effects. There we go. Let's get some V in there. Okay, we have our fantastic lights and our terrible speed squish. But yeah, there's your animation. Doing some interesting effects with that. I find the water looks it only works because of the reflective probes. It looks like the blood out of like the original blade, which was kind of terrible, but kind of interesting. So yeah, the water effect only works because of the reflective probes. So that's really cool. So yeah, that's why that works as well. It does. So if you made a glass material, then you have that reflection. It looks really cool. This one is solid, so it looks like it does. But basically, yeah, you could have a glass one, and then it looks like water is either passing over glass if it's a flat surface, or a river or something like that if you do that as well. So that's a really cheap and easy way to do water effects. Now there are better shaders. So a water shader that like affects on when it interacts with other objects. So you can find those or use Amplify to make your own shaders that work with WebGL. It's a terrible animation. So yeah, that's basically light maps and animation in the one scene. So notice how, like, even though they're both sort of moving slowly, because the shadow is so fuzzy, it actually doesn't look that bad. That does when it gets to the bottom, but when it's moving at the top, it's kind of okay. But if you had a hard shadow, which you can see there because of the sunlight going down, because of the angle, once again you can kind of get by with that, I think. Um, but as there are no what do you call it? Real time lights. There's no shadow, and in this case, for example, especially with such a flat floor with no detail, it does look like I'm kind of floating. Um, so let's make our what do you call it? Let's make our what do you call it? Our light mixed. Um, and I'm hoping that will create a nice shadow effect. So once again, this time, because it's kind of quick, I'm going to delete those and build again. I should fix the animation. That's going to bother me so much now. But I will. Pull that up again, and go. The baked mixed did not work as well as I had hoped. That's interesting. Okay. Fine, then let's do it the manual way. Mixed. Okay, so what I will do, say, for example, I'm going to put all my baked lights, I'll put a B in front of it. And then I'll make that a B. And then I will do this and make this R. Let's make that clear. Now, because I actually like that level of light, the baked light, I'm going to go 0.25. Actually, no, I'm going to 0.2. And the real-time light, I'm going to go 0.3. So the result is kind of the same. This one, yep, that's all good. And real-time, we're going to change to that. Intensity, okay, that should work. Let's see. Save, Mona. Once again, kind of a quick build, and I want to make sure that it works. How long have I been streaming for? 1.5. It's quite a lot of information in a very short time. That works. And once again, build. So as you can see, I have a shadow. It's very light, very slight. And once you get into the shadow areas, it disappears because that is giving a shadow. I don't mind it. There's like a strobe effect, which is bad for me because I'm epileptic. But anyway. So as you can see, there is no shadow in the shade, but there is a shadow, slight, in the light, which is pretty cool. Now, there are ways around this, I think. So I'm going to look at that in a second. Now, note the camera gets a bit interesting with collision. So it can sort of get through. I don't know how they're going to fix this or improve this, because they'll have no control over the environments that get built. So it's going to be kind of interesting how they're going to do that. What I could do, though, to sort of counter that, if I knew what I'm doing, is put a collider on the whole roof. That way I would stay in here for good, for example. So when I go across a collision, that's actually pretty cool. I mean, you can also do some interesting, like, if I was over here, for example, I could do a cool screenshot like that, or maybe a camera. Like, you know how there's like games have camera photo modes now. I think that'd be cool. Kind of cool. So yeah, that's shadows. Now, say for example, if I want to, I'm gonna be winging it from here because I haven't really done this application of an idea. But say for example, I would have this as, say for example, I only want this, the floor and the walls and stuff. Well, what do I want to do? What do I want shadows and what do I want not shadows? So you do have the ability to sort of make some interesting choices. So we've got one light, and I want shadows to go on the ground. So I could probably do a second one. And this would be, say, 0.2 and no shadows, for example. So this will just cast over everything. So even in the shadow areas on the build, I should have light. So let's say this is, what's it called, ambient. And let's call this one shadow. So what I'm hoping is going to happen, now I would adjust that, but I'm gonna keep them all the same. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is that everywhere will cast a shadow now. Theoretically speaking. Okay. Pull it up first, pull that up. In we go. And V. So I have my shadow. And yeah, that didn't work as well as I'd hoped. Is it there? Is it really subtle? Like, what's... Not too sure. Okay, let's do a really obvious thing. So I want the shadow light to be stronger. So let's do 0.5. That's baked light. So maybe let's rebake the lighting as well. So that's real time. That's real time. And this is less. So if it's at the same levels, that's actually maybe the point. So if it's at the same levels, maybe it won't work that well. So they actually have to have different lighting. So let's do generate lighting. Is it done? Nope. So of course the lighting element, I don't know if this is going to be all messed up. um, how does it sound? Is anyone in the chat? Is this still clear or is it breaking up like anything? I should know these things. I'll have to watch my stream and find out. talk anyway. There'll be the tests when I can check it. So yeah, playing with lighting takes a long time, and baking the different lights if you have a lot gets really annoying. One approach that you could do, that a friend of mine recommended, is turn off all the lights and even the ambient light, and just start from scratch. So your whole space is black, and then you just add each light individually, for example. Um, yeah, no, I'm caught up, so that's good. Okay, let's give this a shot. Fingers crossed. I wonder if when I bake, I lose the reflection probe. That'll be an interesting challenge there. Okay. Stronger shadow. Leading there. So yeah, still no shadow. But that light looks a lot better, for example. Note how that ball has a shadow now. So that's pretty cool. But then the baked shadow looks even more obvious. So you have to start playing around with what is baked and what's not. So in that case, you might want to turn the static on that one off. So let's do that for argument's sake. So where is it? So that one, we're going to turn off static. I'm going to rebake everything in a sec. But the other one moves very subtly, so I'm going to keep that one. So let me see. Now the other option is you can use a culling mask, for example. Now I always get mixed up between what gets shown and what doesn't. But if you look into that, perhaps I'll figure it out and then make another tutorial on it. But say, for example, you can have certain objects be seen by other objects. So culling mask, for example, means like everything can be seen, or this lights nothing, for example. Or I could do water, for example. Or I could make a new layer. So add layer, and let's call this shadow lit. Shadow lit. That sounds cool. For example. And then instead of being nothing, I'll do shadow lit. And then when I do the, let's say, the ground, that's the ground, we can put that as shadow lit, for example. So that's super useful with playing around with what can or cannot be seen. And then, say, for example, we wanted that light to hit everything and that, or everything or nothing, and default, for example, but not the ground, then you could do that as well, for example. Everything except that. So you have control over what lights affect what spaces, so that's very useful. If you want to do tricky stuff with shadows and whatnot. That also would allow you to potentially add more real-time lights because it only affects so many objects. So say if you just had all of the floors be real-time shadowed, then it doesn't affect anything else, which would probably save on processing in WebGL. I believe that's true. Once again, say in the chat if I'm wrong, and creating all sorts of crazy stuff either now or on YouTube, and like make me look like a fool. Go for it. Love your work. So that's about it, really. So in this, what have we got? nearly 2 hour stream, we've covered lights, emissive materials, metallic, sort of plasticky or very smooth objects. We've also done some basic animation. Of course, you could apply that to anything that can be animated. So basically, press the record button, play with it. That's basically what I do. And yeah, that's basically the basics of all of the tools that I used in MySpace, just cranked up to 11. And of course, I did use Bakery to do that. So let's add Bakery. Why not? So we need the package manager. You can see all of the packages that I've bought on all of the sales over a very long time. So what have we got? What's called Bakery? Real-time preview. No, don't want that. We want this. So this will take a little second to import, but then I can show a really quick tutorial on how to do Bakery, I guess. This is the thing that takes a while. Can I get rid of examples? Better not. Import. I found Bakery really good. Emissives are just better and more accurate. Supposedly it's what do they say? Like kind of light accurate, I think, to a point. The only catch is you basically have to have NVIDIA card to make it worthwhile, and 64-bit Windows 7 or higher, as they say. So it doesn't support AMD cards for baking. It might support the CPU, but the whole point of this is to be faster and cooler. I bought the real-time preview, but the real-time preview doesn't seem to include real-time lights. So if you have real-time lights in your scene, it kind of messes up with the results. That said, the real-time preview was super useful when it worked well. So that's in. Is that done? I think that's done. Bakery, yes. Okay. So say, for example, we have our lights. This is baked. Now, say, for example, I want to add a bakery light. Now, this is a direct light, so we have bakery direct light. Now, say I want to keep these, so I can do match light mapped to real time. So this is light mapped, this is real time. So, but if I want to change this and put it on this, I can do that as well. So I want to do that, and notice how this changes. That goes away. So if I change anything here, that will come up again. But I don't want to. But say, for example, I change this, and I can change that, for example. So that's super useful for that kind of changing things. Now these two are, I only need the shadow. The ambient light doesn't seem to be doing anything because the intensity is at 0. Thank you, Unity. Why? That explains that. Let's put that down to 3. Okay. Okay. So I got that now. Was there anything else I needed to do? Bakery. Now these are the tools up here, so you can create new directional light. They do lights very differently, so you can just add them here and then play around with them. Is there a window for it? I forget. I spent so much time on this for 3 weeks straight. I think it's that's what it is, right? So that's why. So you got render light map, but it actually brings this up, which I did put in here. Okay, yeah, rename that menu item because this makes no sense. Okay, it doesn't need to be that big. So put that over there. Put that over there. Okay. So bakery, for example. So with this window, I don't actually need any of this anymore. This is all incorrect. But I do sometimes use this to see because it bakes into these. So I do use these still to see what I'm looking at, but then I'll use this to see. Now, basically I went to experimental. I went full lighting. Um, these are all different levels. I don't think we can use these in Mona. I forget what they are. They're better rendering. They take longer, but I don't think whatever it is works. I use these two. They were pretty good. Bake normal maps sort of worked well. Light probe, leave that as is. Sometimes bakery would crash if I change these to Atlas. So if it crashes, change it back. Adjust UV padding, which I recommend. Default. I think Atlas Packer was okay with X Atlas, but Unwrapper was the one that had a bit of issues. That said, with generate, what was this? For models with generate lightmap UVs. Okay, so once again, this goes back to the model. So if you set generate lightmap UVs, Bakery will take care of it and it will be better. So we're going to use X Atlas. I think it recommended this one. You got denoise and stuff, which is good. You can split if you have multiple scenes. So we have space, portals, and artifacts. I could split the light maps into those scenes, but I don't recommend it. Generally, portals and artifacts, I don't have light maps because it I don't know how the NFT system works. So it would only work in this space, but when you move it to another space and minted, it wouldn't need it. So you don't want to sort of fake that, I guess. That's my impression of it. Hole filling. So if there's any holes with irregular shapes, when it unwraps, you can sort of fill up the holes. I usually put that on. It gives you a hint for all of these things, so very useful. I pretty much only go to 2048. Bounces. Emissive boost. In my space, I put this up to 1.5. It helps a lot with emissive spaces, so mine is emissive, so I'll just leave that as is though. Ambient occlusion is off by default, so I put that on to 1. I have an 2070 RTX, so I can put that on. And that's basically it. Now I'm going to save that because I find that Bakery does sort of reset these a lot, and I think saving is the thing that keeps it set. So make sure to save often, as you should. And then let's go render. Now, yeah, sure. So the first time you do it, it will come up with a test and see what it thinks is best. So everything is fine, for example. I don't know why it says Optics X 5.1 as the best, but sure. Yes, it does. So I'm going to make sure all the things are the same again. Yep. Yep. Okay. And then we can render. It will disappear, you'll freak out, but then it works. Sometimes this takes a while, sometimes this doesn't. Generally, I think on my system it took no more than that, I think. Even towards the end when I started ramping everything up. If that's the system or the fact Bakery is just really fast. Once again, I might be losing audio here. Just imagine what you're hearing. Okay. And of course, the light will be a little bit different, as you can see here. So let's zoom in on this, for example. We've got that. Now notice how, where is it? So Texels is down to 20. And a few of these settings are different, but even so, oh, now it's working, kind of. It's interesting. But as you can see, like there's no light bleeding, for example. So already this is winning by a fair margin. I do like that that's a negative. Now notice this is a big thing as well that took me a second. Because these use reflective probes, once I've baked, I need to don't have to worry about render light probes because that's done in a render. But you do have to render reflection probes, and then it all comes back. So that's that basically. But as you can see here, there's a tint of blue on the wall, for example. Now, because that isn't static anymore, it doesn't cast the shadow, but it has, I think, the light map there. So yeah, that is bakery. So let's give that a test. See what it looks like. That up. All that. Go. It's already up, so I can just drag and drop. Now, of course, because all the algorithms are different, the lighting effect will be different. But as you can see, the quality is, apart from there, for example, but those are big areas, quite different. Ah! What is going on? That's very funny. I do not know why that's happening. I think it's probably spawned under the ground for some reason. Um, so yeah, very different effects, I think, basically. This is so weird. So let's see if we can improve that a bit. Because some of those, like that, for example, well, that could actually be the that's the light, I think, like the real time light. Oh, I didn't check if the thing. Okay, was it that? No, that should be fine. Didn't check if there was a shadow in the thing because those are now correct. Oh, that might have been the lighting as well. So that's a good point. So let's turn this one down to 0.2. That's 0.3, and that's also 0.2. So that's good. Let's put, yeah, just for some interesting thing, let's put a few more lights in there. So you got a skylight, a point light, an area light. So as noted previously, an area light is literally just a material with an emissive light on it. So it actually creates an emissive light by um, creating lost words this material, for example. So if I click on that and go select material, it'll go down here. So this is a new one that's created. But say, for example, I want, what's that one? Get rid of that one. So I can edit the light information here. So let's say, let's make this green. No, let's go, no, green. We haven't got much green in here. And then this comes up again. So match light to material, match material to light. So then that will be green, for example. And then you can change the intensity here, for example, 5 if you wanted to. So it's basically an emissive. And then we want to change match material to light, match light to material, because we changed that. So that goes up. And you can do all sorts of interesting things with textures and whatnot. So let's see what this looks like. I'm interested. Yeah, render. If you haven't saved before render, it will ask you to do so. So use bakery, if anything, just to make sure you save often. So there we have a beautiful green area light, for example. Now, I did something like this with a big, huge orange one and a big, huge blue one on the end of my space, so that sort of get a bit more color, and then I got rid of it, for example. But note how it does that. So say, for example, if I wanted to do that, I would make sure that it does not cast shadows. And it does not receive shadows. So if I bake that again, that would disappear. So why not? Let's do it properly. This was my life for the last week. Is well, before submitting the competition, this was my life for about a week. Is like slight tweak, render, slight tweak, render. That lighting, but not enough. I really need to. What would like? I'd like to get to a point where you or I create a space completely and understanding what will happen when I rather than rendering for like 1 to 3 minutes every time to see the reaction or the result. That's interesting. So that happened because that. It's not static, I guess. Right. So lights need to do this to contribute global illumination, for example, which this does. So if I turned off cast shadows and receive shadows, I think this turned off automatically. So once again, there's a lot of settings you can play with these sort of things. But let's see, and it should be, fingers crossed, that should be the thing that turned that off, for example. A lot of my mapping is playing around with those figures, trying to figure out those small toggles here and there. It can get really finicky and amazing for all. Sometimes you're like, okay, light map off on the probe only. I make this cast shadows because it's too small. I'm not going to let this receive shadows because it doesn't matter. So you have options to set up and optimize the space. That, I guess. And for WebGL builds, basically, you have to be. That's interesting. Why? Cast shadows. Okay, so this is an exercise in figuring this out. Put that on full. Here, turn that off. Turn that off. Okay. Interesting. So that's light maps. Full static. This is an exercise in understanding. I may try and edit this video to cut all of these, I think. Yeah, stream. My etc., etc. Yep. Alrighty. Fine then. Let's put that on. Cast shadows. Shouldn't receive shadows, surely. This is the last try. Promise. And then, of course, if it doesn't work, I would, like, if I was trying to make it work again, I would actually just delete it and put it up again if this doesn't work. So, if at first you don't succeed and you don't succeed again, delete it, start again. Interesting. So it has to cast a shadow. So what I would probably do if I wanted to get rid of that is put this on a shadow lit sort of situation and play with that. That might work. So that light that is casting that shadow does not affect this particular material. So there's that. But that's cool. All right. That's all green. Very nice. Now, I did want to increase the quality of these. Resolution, bounces, samples. This is what it was. So, if I wanted to improve the quality, once again, time does change. So samples is the big one. So let's go all out. I'll fix it in post. Bounces if you want that sort of really bouncy stuff going on. And yeah, so those two, and of course texels per unit. So at the moment we have one. So that's the thing. So Bakery does a lot better with the space that it has. So we were getting really good results with Lightmapper, but it was over 2 maps. This is literally 1 map. So that's pretty big. So what we can do is make this 40 and see how that goes. Don't forget to render reflection probes. Once again, if they're black or if anything is black, it's because the reflection probes are not showing on that object. So make sure to do that. Another useful thing also is show the checker, for example, so you can see the quality of the scale on the objects. So that could be useful as well. So let's do one more bake, one more save, one more bake, and then the light probes. No, not the light probes, the reflection probes, and one more test. And that'll be it for today's session, I think. I always wonder if I should have music with my streams. I like the idea of people having the ability to make their own music. you can sing, or you can put Spotify on, or another YouTube in the background. So that's why I don't do music. But yeah. Then there's also the fact because I'm baking and building so often, music would probably break up a lot, which wouldn't be great. So probably keep it as is. Absolute silence. So yeah, it definitely takes a bit longer when you're up. Now, notice in Unity how most objects are one-sided. There are shaders that have two-sided, but two-sided is more is a heavier load. So use them sparingly. There are ways around it, but yeah. So there are shaders to be two-sided, but note that it is heavier. So as you can see, like the quality of this one is kind of crazy good. They have this like beautiful glow out here. Um, these are higher. So say for example, if I was going to control these a bit more, I would probably turn these down a bit because they're like crazy red. This I think is a problem with the light map UVs. I don't know what is going on there, but not important. When you import your own characters, you would not have this problem when you went to model and light map or unwrap. Once again, we haven't rendered the reflection probe, so let's do that. Always pretty quick. So that's pretty good. And that's it. That's it for this space. But yeah, looks really nice, I think. Don't you agree? See, look at that. Just look at it. So good. Corners are good. There's no bleed. It's just so pretty. So let's build that. Have a quick run around. See what happens if the avatar is all weird again. Kind of interested to see what happens there. That'll flash. So then you can just do that. Is it going to be weird? Yes. Why is it weird? What has happened? So notice how, yeah, there's a collision. I can go through it. What is going on? That's so weird. So yeah, one-sided is definitely a thing. So the shadows aren't working because it's all weird there as well. But anyway. I do not know what happened there. So that's really interesting. But anyway, you get the idea. See, that's cool. In, out, in, out, in. Super bright. All right. So that's our light map, reflection map, animation, all of the things tutorial. Nice and long. I might edit it a bit so we can sort of clean it up. There's a little bit of wasted space, but I talked a lot. So there's that. Thanks for joining. Hope you learned a lot, and see you in the metaverse. Bye. Actually, I should do summaries here because that's cooler. So, thank you for coming to my random stream. I hope you learned a lot. Basically, we looked at light maps, we looked at animation, we looked at materials, we looked at bakery light maps, and we looked at a strange avatar kind of messing up at the end. I have no idea what happened then, but not so important. I'm sure it's a current glitch that will be fixed at some point. But yeah, that's fine. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned a lot, and see you around the metaverse. Bye.